The strange encounter, it was a cold evening in the small city. The streets were almost empty, only a few people walking quickly, holding their jackets tight against the wind. A small cafe on the corner gave out warm light through its glass windows. Inside, the air smelled of coffee, chocolate, and fresh bread. He sat there, a young man in his mid-20s, quiet and ordinary. His name was Daniel. He had no special future waiting for him, at least not that he knew. He worked hard in a simple office, paid his bills, and went home. Nothing exciting ever happened in his life. For him, this cafe was the only place where he could sit, relax, and feel a little peace after a long day. Daniel ordered his usual drink, hot chocolate with extra cream. It was his comfort after long hours of boring work. He waited near the counter, listening to the soft music, watching people come and go, and then she walked in. At first, Daniel almost did not notice her. She was just another customer, but something about her stopped him from looking away. The woman wore a long coat, silver in color, shining strangely under the cafe lights. Her hair was dark, falling smoothly over her shoulders, but her face? It was her face that made him pause. It was beautiful, yes, but different. Her eyes looked too bright, too sharp, like stars trapped inside them. She stood quietly, looking at the menu, bored as if the words were unfamiliar. When it was her turn, she spoke softly to the cashier, her voice calm but unusual, like music with a rhythm Daniel had never heard before. She ordered a hot drink, hesitating at the name, as if the word itself was new to her. The cashier told her the price. She reached into her pocket and pulled out some coins. Daniel noticed them right away. They didn't look like normal money. They were shiny, with strange symbols carved into them, glowing faintly under the light. The cashier frowned. "Sorry, miss, this is not valid here." The woman looked confused. She tried to explain, but her words came out broken, her accent heavy. The people in line behind her began to grow impatient. A man coughed loudly. Another woman sighed and shook her head. Daniel felt a strange pull inside him. Something told him she was not just another stranger. She looked lost, helpless, almost embarrassed. Without thinking much, Daniel stepped forward. "I'll pay for her drink," he said. The cashier glanced at him, then at her, and finally nodded. "All right." Daniel handed over the money. Simple, paper bills and coins. The woman turned to him slowly, her bright eyes meeting his. For a moment, he felt something move inside him, a feeling he could not name. She smiled gently. It was not just a smile of thanks. It was a smile full of meaning, almost too deep for such a small act of kindness. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but carrying weight, as if the words were more important than they should be. Daniel nodded, trying to act normal, though his heart beat faster. "It's nothing, just a drink." She received her cup of hot chocolate. The steam rose up and she held it carefully as if she had never touched something so warm before. She sat down at a corner table alone. Daniel tried to return to his own seat, but his eyes kept going back to her. She looked at the drink with wonder, taking small sips, her face lighting up as if she had discovered something magical. Other people, in the cafe, noticed her strange behavior. Some laughed quietly, some whispered, but she ignored them all. She seemed to be in her own world, focused only on the warmth in her hands and the taste on her lips. Daniel thought about speaking to her, but he stopped himself. She was a stranger after all. A beautiful, mysterious stranger, but still just a stranger. And yet, he could not shake the feeling that something bigger was happening, something important. The cafe door opened again. A cold wind entered. For a second, Daniel saw the woman flinch as if she sensed danger outside. She looked at the window, her bright eyes scanning the dark street. Her hand brushed against her wrist where a small silver band rested. He thought it was just a bracelet, but for a moment, he saw it glow faintly with blue light. Daniel blinked. When he looked again, it was normal. Maybe his eyes were tired. The woman took another sip, closing her eyes as if savoring the moment. She whispered something to herself in a language Daniel had never heard. The words flowed like water, smooth and strange, carrying a mystery he could not understand. He looked at her one last time before turning back to his own drink. He tried to tell himself it was nothing. Just a random woman, a random night, a small act of kindness. But deep inside, a voice whispered, "This is not the end. This is the beginning." And Daniel, unaware of the storm about to come, did not know that paying for one hot drink would soon tie his life to the fate of an entire galaxy. Hidden. Identity. The night grew colder outside, but inside the cafe, warmth and soft music filled the air. Daniel tried to focus on his drink, but his eyes kept moving back to the strange woman. Something about her refused to let him look away. She sat in the corner, holding the cup with both hands as if it was the most precious thing she had ever touched. Each sip she took seemed new, as though she was tasting more than just a drink. She was studying it, learning it. Daniel wondered if she was new to the city, maybe a traveler, or someone from another country. That would explain her unusual accent and odd behavior, but then, the memory of those glowing coins came back to him. He could not forget the strange symbols carved into them. The woman noticed his eyes on her. She looked back, her gaze sharp, yet gentle. For a moment, Daniel felt caught, like he had been discovered. But instead of anger, she gave him a small nod, almost like a silent thank you again. Something inside Daniel pushed him forward. Maybe curiosity, maybe something stronger. He stood holding his drink and walked over to her table. "Do you mind if I sit here?" he asked carefully. She hesitated, then gave a slow nod. Daniel sat across from her. Up close, she looked even more unusual. Her skin seemed normal at first, but under the cafe's light, faint patterns appeared, like silver lines, thin and glowing just under her skin. They faded when she moved, as if hiding from the human eye. Daniel blinked, unsure if it was real or just his imagination. He tried to break the silence. "So, do you like the drink?" She looked at the cup, then back at him. "It is warm. Sweet, strange, but good." Her words came slow, as if she was learning each one before speaking it. Daniel smiled a little. "It's called hot chocolate. Pretty common here." "Hot chocolate," she repeated, testing the words. Then, her lips curved into a smile, and for a moment she looked almost human. They sat quietly, and then she asked suddenly, "Do you believe in life beyond this world?" Daniel was surprised. "You mean aliens?" He chuckled. "Sure, maybe. The universe is big, right? But I've never met one." Her eyes locked on his. "What if one sits before you now?" Daniel laughed again, but softer this time. "That would be crazy." He looked at her glowing eyes, her strange coins, the silver marks on her skin. Part of him wanted to laugh it off. Another part whispered that maybe she wasn't joking. "You are kind," she said, almost whispering. "Few would help a stranger, fewer still." Without asking why, Daniel felt heat rise in his face. It was nothing, just a drink. Her eyes softened. Small choices can change great things. Daniel didn't know what to say. She spoke with weight, as if every word carried deep meaning. For a moment, silence fell again. Then her hand brushed against her wrist. Daniel noticed the silver band again, the one that had glowed faintly before. Now, as her fingers touched it, he heard a soft hum, almost too quiet to notice. Her eyes flickered, and she turned toward the window, scanning the dark street outside. Daniel followed her gaze but saw nothing unusual. "Something wrong?" he asked. She hesitated, then shook her head. "Not yet." Her answer chilled him. "Not yet." What did that mean? He wanted to ask more, but she leaned closer. Her voice dropped, serious and almost desperate. "Tell me, Daniel, do you trust what you see, or do you trust what you feel?" Daniel froze. "How do you know my name?" She looked into his eyes, calm and steady. "Names are not hidden if one knows how to listen." He felt a shiver crawl up his spine. This was no ordinary woman. She knew things she shouldn't. She spoke of life beyond Earth like it was normal, and her strange bracelet, her glowing eyes, the coins, everything screamed impossible. Daniel wanted to walk away. He wanted to tell himself it was nonsense, but his heart would not let him. Instead, he asked, "Who are you?" For the first time, her smile faded. She looked at her cup, then at him again. "Not who, but what. I am not of this place." The cafe door opened suddenly, and a gust of cold wind rushed in. She flinched again, her hand gripping the cup tightly. For a second, Daniel thought he saw fear in her eyes. "Not here," she whispered. "Not now." Daniel leaned closer. "Then when?" Her eyes glowed faintly as she answered, "Soon." As Daniel sat there, staring at the mysterious woman, he felt the world shift. He had walked into the cafe as just another tired young man. But now, with each word she spoke, with each strange glance, he felt the ground under his life breaking apart. And deep inside, a voice warned him. He was no longer just an observer. He was part of something far greater. The woman looked out the window one last time, her expression unreadable. Then she whispered in her strange language again, words Daniel could not understand. But the look in her eyes told him everything. She was not human. And she was hiding something too big for him to imagine. The billionaire truth. The night had grown darker when Daniel finally stepped out of the cafe. The air was cold and the streets almost empty. He kept replaying her words in his head. Not who, but what. I am not of this place. Was she joking? Testing him? Or was it true? His logical mind told him it was impossible. But his heart whispered that it was real. Something about her eyes, her voice, her strange way of speaking. None of it fit the world he knew. Daniel walked home slowly, but his mind was restless. He wanted to forget, but he couldn't. Who was she? Why did she act so strange? And why did it feel like his simple kindness had pulled him into something far bigger? That night he dreamed of stars. Endless stars, shining in strange patterns. And in the middle of them, her eyes glowing like distant suns. Far above the city, hidden, beyond human sight, a ship floated in silence, sleek silver shaped like a blade of light. Inside, the woman sat alone, no longer the lost stranger from the cafe. Her name was Liara, though no human tongue could pronounce it perfectly. She removed the silver coat, revealing a garment woven with living threads that shifted colors like liquid metal. Her bright eyes dimmed to their natural glow. The marks on her skin brightened, forming patterns that told her heritage, lines of power and blood. Before her floated a screen of light, filled with alien symbols. She pressed her wristband and the screen changed, showing images of her world. Towers that reached into clouds, ships moving between stars, oceans of silver seas. It should have been hers. All of it. But the council had given her an impossible law. Without an heir, her empire would die. Her father, ruler of an empire of 7 systems, had fallen. Rivals circled like predators. Liara was the last in her line. But her people could not continue without the bonded heir, a child with human strength mixed with her blood. She had searched across galaxies. She had studied thousands of humans, tested their minds and their blood. All had failed. Weak, selfish, corrupt. None worthy. And then, a simple man in a small cafe had paid for her drink, not because he wanted power, not because he expected reward, but simply because it was kind. Liara's heart trembled as she remembered his face. Daniel, ordinary on the outside, but his actions revealed something rare, loyalty without reason, compassion without gain. She had scanned him secretly when he sat across from her. His DNA pattern still glowed on her wrist device. The result had shocked her. He was compatible. More than that, he was perfect. Her fingers shook slightly as she whispered to herself, "He does not know. He cannot know. Not yet." But time was running out. Messages from her council blinked red. Rivals pressed harder. And somewhere out there, assassins already searched for her. She turned off the screen and walked to the large window of her ship. Earth shone below, small and fragile. Daniel's face flashed in her mind again. She spoke softly, her voice trembling with both hope and fear. Could he be the one? Could a simple human save an empire of stars? Meanwhile, Daniel sat in his small apartment staring at the ceiling. He told himself she was just strange, maybe foreign, maybe crazy, but deep down he didn't believe that. Something about her eyes, her words, her presence, it all felt too real. He opened his window, looking at the night sky. For the first time in his life, the stars seemed closer. What if she wasn't lying? What if she really wasn't from here? The thought should have scared him. Instead, it made his chest burn with curiosity. Back in orbit, Liara received another signal. A rival's voice echoed in her chamber, projected by her ship's comms, cold, cruel. "Your time is ending, Liara. Without an heir, your throne is dust. Surrender your claim, or we will take it by force." Liara's eyes blazed. "I will not surrender. My line does not end here." The voice laughed, sharp as broken glass. "Then find your miracle, little princess. Find him, before we find you." The signal ended. Liara closed her eyes. She had no miracle, not yet, but she had a name. Daniel. The next morning, Daniel returned to the cafe, half hoping to see her, half hoping she was gone. And there she was, sitting in the same corner, her silver coat wrapped tightly, her hands holding another hot drink. This time, she looked at him first. Her eyes met his, steady and full of something he couldn't read. "Sit," she said softly. Daniel sat, heart pounding. She leaned closer, her voice low, heavy with truth. "You paid for a drink, but you do not know what you have paid into. You do not know what you are now part of." Daniel swallowed hard. "Then tell me, who are you really?" For the first time, she answered without hesitation. "I am Liara, heiress of the Orthian Empire, richer than all your world's kings combined, but none of it matters, because I am dying without an heir." Daniel stared at her, unable to breathe. Billionaire, empire, heir. It sounded insane. But her eyes, those glowing, star-filled eyes, told him she wasn't lying. And suddenly, Daniel realized he was no longer living an ordinary life. He was standing at the edge of something far beyond Earth. The fate of 1 billion stars had just touched his hands. Daniel's head spun after hearing her words. Heiress of an empire, billionaire across stars, dying without an heir. It all sounded like madness, yet when he looked into her eyes, he knew she wasn't lying. No ordinary person could look at him with such weight, such truth. Liara sat back, her cup untouched. Her glowing eyes didn't leave his face. "You don't believe me," she said softly. "But you will." Daniel forced a nervous laugh. "You expect me to just accept that you're some alien princess?" "Not princess," she corrected firmly. "Ruler in waiting, guardian of 7 systems, keeper of 1,000 worlds. My name carries more wealth than your entire planet." She leaned closer, her voice sharp now. "But none of that matters if I fail." Daniel's throat went dry. "Fail what?" Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "The heir, the bloodline. Without it, everything burns." He stared at her, struggling to process. He wanted to walk away, yet something rooted him in place. Against all reason, he stayed. Liara studied him quietly, as if searching deep inside his soul. Then she said something strange. "I must know you. Not your name, not your work. You. Only then can I decide." Daniel frowned. "Decide what?" But she didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her coat and pulled out a small device no larger than a pen. It glowed faintly blue. She set it on the table between them. Daniel leaned back. "What is that?" "A truth seeker," Liara said. "It shows more than words. It reveals the heart." He hesitated. "And you want me to, what, take a test?" "Yes." Her eyes were steady, unblinking. A test of spirit, a test of choice. Daniel almost laughed again, but something about her tone killed the humor. She wasn't playing. He could feel it. Finally, he sighed. "Fine. What do I have to do?" Liara tapped the device. A soft light rose above it, forming glowing shapes. Questions written not in letters but in symbols that twisted and shifted. Yet somehow Daniel could read them. The words appeared in his mind, clear as thought. The first question appeared. "Would you give your last meal to a stranger if you were starving?" Daniel frowned. "Weird question." "Answer," Liara said firmly. Daniel thought for a moment. "Yeah, if someone needed it more than me." The device glowed brighter, a soft hum filling the air. Liara's lips curved slightly as if satisfied. The second question formed. "Would you sacrifice your safety to protect someone you just met?" Daniel hesitated. Memories of the cafe returned, how he had stepped in without thinking, paying for her drink. He sighed. "I guess. Yeah. Sometimes you just do what feels right." The hum grew louder. Liara's eyes shone brighter. The third question appeared. "Would you fight for a world that is not your own?" This time Daniel froze. His world? His people? His job, his rent, his small ordinary life? That was all he knew. Why would he fight for another world? But then he looked at Liara. He saw the fear she tried to hide, the weight she carried. He thought of the way she looked at her drink, like she had never felt warmth before, and without thinking he said, "Yes. If it mattered, yes." The light flashed brilliant white, filling the cafe for a moment. No one else seemed to notice. Only Daniel and Liara sat frozen in the glow. When it faded, the device went silent. Liara picked it up and slipped it back into her coat. Daniel leaned forward. "Well, did I pass your test?" Liara's voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed excitement. "You are more than I hoped, more than I dreamed." Daniel shook his head. "I don't understand any of this." "Why me?" She held his gaze, her tone heavy with truth. "Because your heart is stronger than you know. Because you carry something rare. And because fate has chosen you." He almost laughed. "Fate? Come on. I'm just a guy who works in an office." Her hand brushed across his, just for a moment. "No. You are more. You will see." Daniel pulled back, unsettled. He wanted answers, but she gave only riddles. Finally, he asked, "And what if I failed your little test? What then?" Liara's smile faded. Her eyes grew distant. "Then you would not be sitting here. My enemies would have already erased you." Daniel froze. "Erased me?" She nodded slowly. "The moment I scanned you, others sensed it. Rivals, hunters. They are already searching." A chill ran down his spine. "Hunters? For me? I didn't ask for any of this." Liara's voice was sharp now. "Neither did I. But destiny does not ask. It chooses." For a long moment they sat in silence. Daniel's mind raced with fear and confusion. But beneath it something else stirred. A spark. A strange sense of purpose. Liara stood, her silver coat flowing around her like liquid light. She looked down at him, her expression unreadable. "I will return. But you must decide, Daniel. Will you run from the truth, or walk into it?" Before he could answer, she touched her wristband. A glow surrounded her, and in the blink of an eye she was gone. Daniel sat there alone, staring at the empty space where she had stood. His heart pounded. His hands shook. His world was falling apart. And yet, deep inside, he knew the test was not over. It had only just begun. The offer Daniel barely slept that night. His mind burned with questions. Who was she really? Why him? And what did she mean when she said hunters were searching? Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her glowing stare. Every time he tried to breathe, he remembered her words. Destiny does not ask, it chooses. By morning, he was exhausted, but his curiosity only grew stronger. Against all reason, he returned to the cafe. Something inside told him she would be there. And she was. Liara sat at the same table, silver coat folded neatly over the chair, a cup of hot chocolate in her hands. She looked calm, almost peaceful, as if the storm of her words from yesterday had never happened. But when her eyes met his, he knew. She had been waiting for him. Sit, she said gently. Daniel sat, his chest tight. You disappeared. Right, in front of me. How did you? Liara raised her hand, silencing him. Some truths cannot be spoken, they must be shown. She pressed her wristband. The air shimmered above the table. Slowly an image appeared, her ship, a silver blade of light floating above the earth, hidden in orbit. It was beautiful, powerful, and alien beyond belief. Daniel's mouth went dry. That's real? It is mine, she said. One of many. I command wealth and power your world cannot dream of. But all of it is worthless without what I seek. He leaned closer, whispering. An heir. You mean that? Liara's eyes softened. Yes, without an heir, the council strips me of my claim. Without a claim, my empire falls into chaos. And my enemies, they will burn my people until nothing remains. Daniel shook his head. Why tell me all this? I'm nobody. Just a guy with bills to pay and a job I hate. She leaned forward, her voice sharp now. Because you are not nobody. My tests proved it. My scan confirmed it. You are compatible, more than compatible. You are the one I have been searching for. Daniel's stomach dropped. The one? The one for what? Her gaze pierced him, steady and unblinking. To stand beside me, to carry my line, to help me protect what is mine. For a moment, Daniel could only stare at her. He wanted to laugh, to call it impossible. But he remembered the glowing device, the ship above Earth, the way she vanished. This was no trick. Still, his voice came out shaky. You're saying, you want me to be, what, your partner? Liara tilted her head. In your words, yes, but not only that. More. It is not just about union. It is about survival. You would become part of my empire, part of my people. You would hold power beyond anything your world offers. Daniel rubbed his face with both hands. This is insane, I don't even know you. Her voice softened again. And yet you helped me without knowing me. You gave freely when others turned away. That is why it must be you. Daniel's heart pounded. He remembered that simple moment, the coins, her confusion, his choice to pay. How could something so small lead here to this? He looked at her carefully. She was beautiful, yes. But there was more. Something heavy in her eyes, a loneliness she could not hide. For all her power, all her wealth, she looked desperate. I don't understand, he whispered. Out of billions of humans, why me? Liara reached across the table, placing her hand lightly over his. Her skin was warm, almost electric, and the silver lines beneath it glowed faintly. Because, she said, her voice trembling, I do not need billions. I need one. And fate has brought me to you. Daniel froze. He felt the weight of her, words press against his chest. This wasn't just about her, this was about him too. His life was no longer ordinary, but fear rushed in. What if I say no? Liara's expression darkened. Then you walk away. But my enemies will not stop. They have sensed you. They know I found someone. If you refuse, they will still come. For you, for your world, a refusal does not erase you. It only dooms you. Daniel's hands shook. He wanted to deny it, to say she was lying. But deep down, he knew she wasn't. He had already stepped too far into her world. She leaned closer, her eyes glowing brighter. But if you accept, you will not face them alone. You will stand with me. You will hold power greater than kings. And together, we will write the future of two worlds. Daniel's mouth went dry. He could barely breathe. His life was nothing special, but now one choice could change everything. He looked into her eyes, saw hope, fear, and something deeper, trust. Silence hung between them, heavy and endless. Then she whispered the words that sealed it. Daniel, will you accept my offer? The cafe felt too small. The world felt too heavy. And Daniel, just an ordinary man, sat at the center of a decision that would shape the stars. The threat Daniel didn't answer right away. His lips parted, but no words came. The weight of Liara's question pressed against his chest. Accept her offer, or refuse and risk everything. Before he could speak, a strange vibration shivered through the cafe floor. The lights flickered once, then twice. No one else seemed to notice. They kept drinking, laughing, scrolling through their phones. But Daniel and Liara felt it. Her eyes sharpened instantly. She touched her wristband. A faint blue light flickered, casting strange patterns across her skin. They found us, she whispered. Daniel's stomach dropped. Who? Her answer came like a blade. My enemies. Outside, the street was unnaturally quiet. The air felt heavy, charged. A black van rolled slowly past the cafe, its windows dark, its engine silent. Then another stopped at the corner. Daniel leaned closer to the window. What the hell is this? Liara's hand gripped his wrist. Do not look. Do not move. But it was too late. The cafe door swung open. Two men stepped inside. They wore dark coats, their faces expressionless. Their eyes, too sharp, too focused, were not quite human. Daniel's breath caught. He whispered, Are they? Liara nodded. Not of your world. The men scanned the cafe. Their gaze slid past the barista, the customers, the tables, and stopped on Liara. She stood slowly, her silver coat shimmering in the light. Her voice was calm but cold as steel. You should not have come here. The taller of the two spoke. His voice was low, mechanical, carrying no emotion. Liara of Orthion, you are without air. Your claim is dust. Come with us. Do not resist. Liara's hand tightened on Daniel's arm. Stay behind me. Before he could react, one of the men reached into his coat. A weapon shimmered in his hand, something sleek, silver, glowing faintly red. It was nothing like a human gun. Daniel froze. His mind screamed, this isn't real. But his eyes told him it was. The shorter man pointed at Daniel. This one, the human. He is marked. Liara's voice cracked with fury. You will not touch him. The taller one raised his weapon. Then he dies now. Liara moved before Daniel could blink. Her wristband flared with light, unfolding into a shield of blue energy. The shot hit it, exploding in a burst of sparks. Customers screamed and ducked under tables, but the attackers ignored them. Their focus was only on her and Daniel. Run, Liara shouted. But Daniel couldn't move, his legs refused. His heart pounded so loud he thought it would burst. The second attacker fired again. Liara deflected the shot, but the blast scorched the wall behind them. Fire alarms blared. People ran out, panicked, but Daniel remained frozen. Liara grabbed, his hand pulling him toward the back exit. Move! They stumbled through the kitchen, crashing into metal trays and shouting workers. Another shot tore through the doorway, missing them by inches. Daniel ducked, his ears ringing. Why are they after me? He cried. Because you matter now, Liara snapped. Because you are chosen. They burst into the alley behind the cafe. The cold night air hit Daniel's face like ice, but there was no relief. More dark figures waited at the end of the alley, their glowing weapons raised. Daniel's chest tightened. We're trapped. Liara stepped in front of him, her shield glowing bright. Then we fight. The attackers opened fire. Red beams slashed through the darkness, burning holes in the brick walls. Liara deflected them, but each strike pushed her back. Sparks flew. Smoke filled the air. Daniel coughed, his throat burning. He wanted to help, but what could he do? He was just human, just ordinary. One attacker lunged forward, swinging a blade that glowed like molten fire. Liara blocked it with her shield, but the force threw her against the wall. She cried out, pain flashing across her face. "Liara!" Daniel shouted. The attacker turned toward him, blade raised. Daniel's heart stopped. He moved without thinking. Grabbing a metal pipe from the ground, he swung it as hard as he could. The attacker didn't expect it. The pipe smashed against his head, sparks flying where metal met not quite flesh. The creature stumbled back, hissing, sparks flickering across its body. Liara rose again, eyes blazing with pride. "Good," she shouted. "You are not weak." But more enemies poured into the alley. Too many. Liara's shield flickered, weakening. Sweat ran down her face. "Daniel," she said, voice urgent. "Listen to me." He shook his head. "We're going to die." "No." Her eyes locked on his. "This is the truth. This is what I could not tell you before. If you stand with me, you will have strength, power, protection. But you must choose. Now." Her shield cracked under another blast. The air burned with heat. The enemies closed in. Daniel's chest heaved. His mind screamed to run, to hide, to deny it all. But another voice rose inside him, louder, stronger. A voice that said he could not abandon her. Not now. Not after everything. He gripped the pipe tighter, his knuckles white. He looked at Liara, her glowing eyes shining with desperation and hope. And for the first time, he didn't feel ordinary. "I'm with you," he said. Liara's wristband blazed with light. The shield expanded, surging with new energy. Her voice rang out like thunder. "Then together we fight." The alley exploded in light and fire as the battle began. The decision. The alley burned with fire and smoke. Red beams of energy ripped through the night. Liara's shield pulsed brighter than before, fueled by Daniel's choice. For a moment, he felt as if the world itself shifted under his feet. He was no longer running. He was standing. The attackers pressed harder. Their weapons cut the air like lightning. But Liara fought with fury, moving like flowing metal, her shield flashing blue sparks with each hit. Daniel swung his pipe wildly, striking whenever one enemy came too close. He was clumsy, untrained, but his strikes carried desperation. And something stronger. One attacker fell. Another stumbled back. But more came. Always more. Liara's voice rang through the chaos. "We must move. They will not stop until one of us is dead." Daniel gasped, his arms aching. "Where? Where do we go?" Her wristband flared again, projecting a beam of blue light skyward. Through the smoke, Daniel glimpsed it, a shape descending from the stars. Her ship. Sleek, silver, alive with alien energy. Daniel's jaw dropped. "That's yours?" "Yes," she shouted. "Our way out." The ship hovered above the alley, silent, yet powerful. A hatch opened, glowing light pouring down like a stairway to the heavens, but the attackers saw it too. They charged forward, weapons blazing. Daniel grabbed Liara's arm. "Go, get on." She shook her head. "Not without you." Before Daniel could argue, one of the attackers raised a weapon, aimed directly at his chest. Daniel froze, the barrel glowing red. Liara stepped in front of him, shield raised. The blast hit her full force. The shield cracked and shattered. The explosion threw them both backward. Daniel landed hard against the wall, his breath ripped from his lungs. He blinked through the smoke and saw Liara on the ground, her silver coat torn, her body trembling. "No." Daniel crawled to her side, panic flooding him. "Liara, stay with me." Her glowing eyes flickered weakly. Blood. Silver. Shimmering blood ran down her arm. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking, "it must be you. It has always been you." He shook his head wildly. "No, don't talk like that. Get up, we can make it to your ship." Her trembling hand reached for his. "Listen, this is the choice. Accept me now, and you will hold the power of my line. My enemies will fall. My empire will live. Refuse, and all of it dies." Daniel's heart pounded. He looked at her, at the woman who had entered his life as a stranger in a cafe, the one whose drink he had paid for without thinking. And now, here she was, an alien heiress, bleeding, begging, trusting him with the fate of a galaxy. He closed his eyes for a moment. The ordinary man inside him screamed to run, to deny it, to return to his simple life. But when he opened his eyes, he knew there was no going back. "I accept," he whispered. Liara's lips curved into the faintest smile. Her wristband pulsed once more, brighter than ever. Energy surged from it, wrapping around Daniel's arm, burning yet filling him with fire. Symbols lit up across his skin, glowing silver like hers. He gasped as strength flooded his body. His mind sharpened. His heart beat like thunder. He felt more, stronger, alive in a way he had never known. The attackers froze, staring at him. One hissed. "Impossible. He carries her mark." Daniel rose to his feet, his eyes blazing silver, like Liara's. He gripped the broken pipe, but now it hummed with the same energy coursing through him. He looked at the enemies and felt no fear, only resolve. "This ends now," he said. With a cry, he swung the pipe. It smashed through the attacker's weapon, sending shards of glowing metal into the air. Another charged, but Daniel moved faster, stronger, knocking him into the wall. With a single blow, Liara struggled to stand, her strength returning in flickers. Together, side by side, they fought, shield and pipe, alien and human, heiress and ordinary man bound by destiny. The attackers fell one by one, until the alley was silent again. Smoke curled into the night sky. The ship hovered above, waiting. Daniel dropped the pipe, his chest heaving. He looked down at Liara, who leaned against him, weak but alive. "You chose," she whispered. "Yes," he said, his voice steady. "I'm with you. Whatever comes next, I'm with you." Her glowing eyes softened, filled with something beyond gratitude, something like hope. "Then our empire lives." They stepped into the beam of light together. The ship lifted them, skyward, carrying them away from the broken alley, away from the ordinary world Daniel once knew. The city below grew smaller. The stars above grew brighter. Daniel stared out the window as the ship broke through Earth's atmosphere. The planet shrank beneath him. Ahead, endless stars stretched across the void. He had paid for a stranger's hot drink. That single moment had changed everything. And now he was no longer just Daniel, the office worker. He was Daniel of Ortheon, chosen, bonded, heir to an empire among the stars. The fate of two worlds rested in his hands, and his story had only just begun.